Honest J. Nowak. Oh yeah.
A pleasure to meet y'all at last, and welcome back to Honest J. Nowak. So here on HJN, I feel like things are starting to look up just the way I hoped for, because you could basically take a little up-close look at this, and not to mention this. It just goes to show that HJN is certainly going to be around for quite a while. So that's pretty much it right here, based on my quick little announcement on how HJN is going to continue to roll here. But anyways, today's topic is, okay, number 548 on HJN. And today's topic is going to be Pogs. Yeah, I said that. No one needs to pretend that Pogs never existed, because that ain't true, even in the slightest fashion. Pogs was, in fact, a big thing during my time. The 1990s, of course, had been filled with lots of great things. There were a ton of high-class cinematic productions that took place throughout that whole decade, including Titanic, which is one of the highest grossing films of all time, and of course the introduction of full-on animation, CGI, in '95 with Toy Story from Pixar. And then of course there were the many things that also happened based on music. There was the rise of rap and the rise of metal, and then of course there was the huge hit based on techno music. 90s dance was incredible, with a full mixture of pop and house that had also come around to blend it with techno to create some of the best memorable hits that we can recognize from that era. And then of course there were the cars that you could see from the 90s. They were more modern-esque in appearance, somewhat curvy based in design, and most of the time practical. Very practical. There weren't that many cars out there that were situated more for sport or for super style, but that's okay. I mean, a lot of cars from the 90s I really am a big fan of, especially because I got to see so many of them before I grew up to where I am now. But if there's one thing from the 90s that pretty much is distinguishable from every other aspect that's taken from that decade, then it'd be the famous game, which was not very much like gambling, as most people suggested. It was called Pogs. It was a little game back then to where you grab little wooden discs, hundreds of them as a matter of fact. They were like collector's items for the most part, much like Magic the Gathering or Pokemon cards or sometimes other things in mind. I mean, I mainly am a big collector of Hot Wheels models and Nerf blasters, but if Pogs, of course, came into my life in more recent times, then let's not forget, it could be a possibility. But in the 90s was when Pogs, of course, were the huge bit of classic gaming that you could possibly ever come across. Well, it was as simple as taking a heavy Pog, slamming it down against the smaller ones, and then whichever one scattered, you could grab any ones you felt like. It was simple rules like those that really defined a generation. But unfortunately, I don't know how it happened, but it didn't even take 20 years for every single thing about Pogs to fade away from existence. I mean, how did that even happen? How is it obscure like that in the blink of an eye? For something that became super popular overnight back then, 20 plus years ago, it's now gone like nothing ever happened. That makes zero sense. That'd be like saying if a new president were to step up on Inauguration Day, and then of course the following morning, when this new president is supposed to be stepping into office, then well, this person doesn't show up. As if zero things happened in between November and January. I mean, that's pretty much relevant. We got someone who's going to be taking the office in January, but man, I really cannot talk about politics on this channel or elsewhere. So, that's pretty much just my, well, comparison. Because Pogs never should have been just shut down like that. Or, I just don't even know how that even happened. Pogs disappear from our minds like nothing happened. Or maybe even like the Men in Black stepped up and took that little thing and flashed it in our eyes, wiping our memories clean. Who knows how it happened, and who knows how Pogs all of a sudden just faded away from our memories as if nothing at all happened, when in all seriousness, the 90s was just chock full of those things. Although, even today, you can still find Pogs, but they still are not talked about, they still are not really discussed anywhere. Which is disgusting to me. Well, you know what? That's pretty much it right there. Bring Pogs back, because it was a great game that we had during my time. So, that's just it. But if you want to see more go down on my channel, then make sure that you like, subscribe, comment, follow me on social media, and stay on the Hollywood side.